one of the most important legends for human consumption. With an estimated $10 million market value, they are the second important source of dietary protein and third most important source of calories. Iron beans have an extra advantage because they contain iron, which is important for blood formation, brain development, productivity, and healthy pregnancies. Beans form part of the staple diet in Uganda, contributing to nutrition and food security. The demand for pulses has reached an all-time high, driven by the demand for a substitute nutritious protein as consumers shift from traditional protein sources such as meat due to rising awareness of healthy foods. The crop's short growing cycle and adaptability to a wide range of growing conditions makes them a vital source of income for many families, contributing up to 9% of household income in some areas. Traditionally, bush bean varieties of common bean are widely adopted. However, bush bean production is constrained by its vulnerability to diseases like root rot and the lower temperatures at higher altitudes. The climbing bean varieties, on the other hand, are better adapted to lower temperatures and have a better disease resistance than the bush bean varieties. These crop characteristics, in combination with the climbing properties, give climbing beans a higher yield potential over bush beans. There are 7 iron bean varieties, 5 are bush varieties, and 2 are climbers. Tonight, making an income from beans production on a commercial scale. Coming up on Seeds of Gold.
I was looking for something I can grow underneath the mangoes to nurture them. So I started by growing melons. Then melons, the market was a little bit unstable. We decided to go into other enterprises. That's how I got introduced to growing beans for food, which are high yielding, which are disease resistant, and which are on market.
Mapidisi Godfrey is an enterprising farmer down in Chotera district. In the last 15 years, he has ventured into watermelons, mangoes, cabbages, chili, and bush beans. All the ventures have been a success, and today he has a newfound love in climbing beans thanks to SEDO.
I was introduced to commercial bean farming by SEDO, which enrolled me as a contract farmer for bean seed production. So far the business is picking now that we are mastering it. We started by growing for food, which was a little bit not stable, but when we started growing for seed production, SEDO is providing us with a ready market, and they are also improving the technology. So the business is peaking now that we have got high yielding varieties, especially the climbing type, which we've rolled out for the last 1 year, and of course combined with the high demand of seed and grain. I think the business is better now.
In the beginning, Godfrey rolled out as a solo grain farmer but didn't win it. He decided to expand into seed multiplication shortly after. Today, he produces grain, multiple seeds, and produces beans for food.
I was looking for something I can grow underneath the mangoes to nurture them. So I started by growing melons. Then melons, the market was a little bit unstable. So we decided to go into other enterprises. That's how I got introduced to growing beans for food. I could buy seed from the shops, from the neighbors, and just plant. But the yields were not good. That's when I got introduced to, first of all, good seed when producing for food, which are high yielding, which are disease resistant, and which are on market. So that one we did for 2 seasons, and then they now introduced me to the concept of growing seed for seed. One we produce for grain. When we multiply seed here, we also do our own garden where we produce for food. So we scale them up to 15 acres. depending on the season. For the seed production, we range from 2 acres to 5 acres. So those are the two lines we do. So we are seeing an improvement, and for this particular season, we are targeting 20 acres of grain, and come to the time of producing seed, we shall do 5 acres still. We can afford to do off-season production for the seed and to a certain extent for the grain. Yeah, so that's how we started, and we've never looked back.
Beans of all types do the best with full, unfiltered sun. The climbing beans may be a little more shade tolerant, but they will still need more than 6 hours of direct sunlight to grow properly. The cattle corridor region in which Godfrey is located provides a relatively suitable environment. However, adverse climate conditions, which usually occur, tend to damage the crop. Godfrey has since devised means to avoid this from ever happening.
This area is semi-arid. When you look at the climate pattern, we get too much of both sides. When it's dry, it's very dry, and when it rains, it actually floods. So using my knowledge of climate change, I am a climate champion trained by USAID. Then I thought and I realized that irrigating would of course help me beat the climate challenges, but also help me to make some money, because whatever we do, we are looking for money. So we find that to a certain extent we couldn't produce during the normal rain, during the regular rains, because at one point you can't produce beans. They just rot because of too much too much rain. And then of course when it's dry, it's also very dry. So we had to find a better way, either to be very early by irrigating before the rain, so that when we get moderate rain at the beginning, the rains are moderate, so we could start during the dry spell, irrigate. By the time we get rains, the beans are almost ready, and we are okay. By the time they become too much, then we have already harvested. That's one option. And another option is for us to plant late in the season when the rains have reduced, but still finish our production with some irrigation. So that's how we are trying to beat the climate challenge around this place. The irrigation system, we have a dam which we dug a few years ago. We have a main line from which we tap. Then we use a pump to put in ponds in the garden, strategically located in the garden, and then from the ponds, that's when we use a sprinkler, overhead sprinkler, now which is movable. We shift it. We can shift it like 3 times, and we are able to irrigate an acre.
Although he uses this irrigation system to survive the harsh weather conditions, this doesn't come easy, especially with costs on fuel for the petrol engine pump, the amount of water spent on the sprinklers as opposed to the drip system. However, these do not deter Geoffrey from progressing his vision, because beans have a good market and usually high price. He is now targeting the solar-powered drip pipelines and aims to do things differently here.
What we do differently here is to have a package that involves looking for knowledge. We get a lot of knowledge from SEDO and its partners, NARO, CIATI, Harvest Plus. So that's what most farmers don't want to do. I'm a trained agriculturist, but still I'm learning more things. So first is to know what I'm doing. Secondly, after knowing what I'm doing, then I have to do what I'm told to do. Like if I know I must do soil testing, I do soil sampling, and then I know what is lacking in my soil. So after that, I also go ahead and apply the knowledge. Like I use improved seed because I know it's better than farm saved seed. Secondly, I do timely land preparation. Third, I use inputs. I use fertilizers to a given extent. I use fertilizers during planting. I use fertilizers after weeding. I use fertilizers during the fruiting. I also use other inputs like the chemicals. Like it's not normal production. Yeah, we get attacked by pests. We get attacked by diseases. So I have to make sure that I fight the pests. I also have to fight the diseases. Like as much as I'm growing beans, but I know we have mites, we have the cutters and the rest of those, the worms.
Important to note is that this climbing plant should be supported off the ground with stakes or poles to improve production, increase usable space, and prevent harvest rot. These beans will continue to grow beyond the height of the poles they are trellised on and should be pinched to halt upward growth to encourage flowering and bean production. This, among many, is a critical element on this farm, but topmost is planning.
I have a management team to the extent that each enterprise you see here has a lead person. So a lead person, I take him through the training because I'm busy. I train them on what I want to see happening for their specific enterprise. Like for the beans, we plan three months to the season, and we draw a plan. So we plan sometime in September. That's when we draw our plan, and I give him responsibility to ask for inputs, to ask for support regarding labor. He wants, because we are sharing labor. So the trick is to prepare in time, and then giving someone specific responsibility to see that whatever we planned is done. Like I want them planted, I wanted them weed free, I wanted them staked, I wanted them sprayed, I wanted them irrigated. So it's his responsibility, and we meet every week to review and then plan. So every Sunday we are meeting. I meet them individually to see what he has done and what he has not done and why he has not done it, and then we plan for the week. You have to know your labor requirements. Like for me, I know I need at least 2 people per acre to work, to give me at least 1 day per week to do the spraying, to do the training on the poles. If you have 1 acre, then you need only 2 people. So in that case, it's not very labor intensive. It depends on how best you plan your activity. We have so many workers because we are on a large scale, but when you consider the labor requirement per unit area, which is 1 acre, I need only 2 people. Now I've done everything. Shall I be able to be at a good time of marketing? That's as regards the grain production when we are producing for food. Yeah, we have to make sure that, like, if we are targeting fresh, when is it? When do we expect to be selling? But when we are producing for seed, of course, the market for seed is guaranteed.
Up next, a partnership's a good alternative to raising capital in agriculture. Geoffrey gives his views. Climbing beans can yield from 2,500 to 3,500 kilograms per hectare, which is much more than the bush beans. This is because climbing beans, when well supported to climb as high as they can, bear more pods per plant. More profitable, but require a considerable amount of financial investment. Now, Let's do the math. How much does this investment cost vis-a-vis the returns?
We have two lines now. One is the regular beans. Regular beans of where we produce, no staking, no what, non-climbers. Yeah, those ones are easy. Those ones are easy. But come to climbing beans, they are very expensive to set up, especially the poles. The poles, we are talking about roughly 650,000 per acre, roughly 700,000. Yeah, we have eucalyptus from those producers around, and on top of buying them, then you have to go ahead and treat them. Like after you've planted them, you have to apply a chemical so that they are not eaten by termites, because you have to reuse. You can't use them once and then say it's profitable. You have to make sure you use them at least 4 times. That's when you can recover your costs. So it's very expensive to get them. They have to be transported, fixing them in the garden, maintaining them in the garden, but also regular maintenance. Like for regular beans, you have to, once you've weeded, you have applied fertilizers, it's fine. But here you have to come almost every 3 weeks to make them straight, to guide the beans, to train the beans to climb. So that's where it becomes very expensive. For the regular training and the guiding of the beans, I use my regular workers whom I pay 150 per month, but not only to do that work, but also to do other tasks, because I have 10 who are regular here to do other tasks in other enterprises. But it takes our time. I think it takes 2 days. The most expensive is the staking, and of course the fertilization is also expensive, and irrigation. Fertilization, after weeding, we need 50 kilograms per acre, which is around 150,000 without application, just to get the fertilizer. And then we also need 2 liters of foliar fertilizer each week, estimated at 20,000 per liter. We need a half liter of pesticide, estimated at 15,000 without application. The cost for seed, we get it in kind crate from SEDO, which they offset when they are selling, where they are taking the product. But we get a kilogram at 10,000 for climbing seeds. We need 10 kilograms per acre for climbing beans. Per acre for climbing, if they are for food, we use roughly 2 million plus. And then if at the end of the day you can get 45 bags to 60 bags of the fresh, the pods, each bag going for something like 120,000 to 200,000. The costs vary, but at the end of the day, I think you have something to smile your way.
Beans production experiences a number of problems at different nodes of the value chain, from inputs, production, trading, processing to consumption levels. Through partnerships like the SEDO, NARO and Harvest Plus, producers in this region receive support with an aim to better their agronomical practices, improve cultivators and find market opportunities. However, these are often interrupted as gold mines or impossibilities to others. This should not be the case, as Godfrey explains.
Now, partnership with support organizations are good when they find you organized. Yeah, because I've told you with the SEDO, I look no further when I want improved seed. I know they have improved seed and I know where they get it from. I want financial support to support my production. Part of my production I want to SEDO. Then market, so the partnerships are really good. I know if SEDO comes to me, it's coming along with other people. It's coming up, it's coming with the Narrow, it's coming with the CIAT, it's coming with the Harvest Plus. It's bringing all of those people to me. So it's a good partnership. But what I want to warn farmers against is to start production for the sake of getting supported. These people come to support you to just jump one hurdle out of, you have to do 95%, and then these people come to help you to do the 5% or 50-50. But when you start production, or when you start an enterprise, a cultural enterprise, hoping that for the sake of attracting support, then you are doing the wrong thing.
Godfrey, through the years, trying different products, has learnt the ways of a farmer, and so shares a word of advice to emerging farmers.
Farming is like any other business. It's like any other business. So it's not for those who have failed. That one they have to know. Farming, you have to give it your time because you are learning. So just look at it like a shop. When you are looking for a shop attendant, do you look for anyone? You look for someone who has the basic skills, customer care, simple accounting, and then you hand him, you give me your shop to run. The same applies to a taxi. You've bought your taxi or good drone. You have good drones for taxi, not for other purposes, but still you find a good driver to give your taxi to manage. You find a good conductor. But come to farming, they don't want to hire qualified people, especially people who want to go into commercial farming.
Uganda is Africa's second largest bean producer after Tanzania, producing over 1,008,410 tons on 670,737 hectares and increasing. The bean sector is of significant importance in Uganda and has tremendous potential to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in food security, nutrition, health, and poverty reduction among farmers. This was SEDO's and Harvest Plus's vision. Next week on Seeds of Gold.